Hey art nerds, we are going to be talking about the element of value today. And this video that I have right here on this next slide is actually linked in the description below. So check out this video to give you sort of like a good start as to how value is used in works of art and also how value works and what it is and how to identify it. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color or an object. So that's tint or shade if we want to get real fancy. And you see in this value scale, which is what you see below, the values of the color black. So you can have black super dark, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, all the way to the number one where it is plain white. So this shows you the different values of the color black. Okay, so that's the lightness or darkness of a color. A light version of black can be considered a light gray, medium, or dark gray. Now, if we take a look at this in an actual object, I have an apple here. And I have two versions of this photo. I have one in black and white and one in color. Now, even though a lot of times if we say we're going to do a value drawing, it looks black and white, but actually value is not limited to just things in black and white. So that second image with the red apple also has value because you have the dark red, the medium red, and the very light pale reds included in the image. It is a lot easier, though, to see how dark or light a color is when you convert it to grayscale, which is why I included the image on the left. So you can really see what part of the apple is really the darkest part and what values within the apple match the values in that background or in the shadow. So value is made by a few different things. You can make value by having light shining on an object. As we have this donut here, you can tell where the light's coming from because there's a shadow on the opposite side because the object blocks the light from passing. Value is also made by a gradual shift in color. So if we have a really, really dark blue and then we add some white, make it a lighter blue, a lighter blue, a lighter blue, a lighter blue. Okay, so you can create it by shifting the color itself. And then you also have value made by having more or less space in between the lines or shapes. Take a look at this image. This is created with just black and white, yet there's parts of the image that look lighter and darker and create the illusion that we can see sort of like a bulge or a bubble, but it only uses black and white. You look really close and the skinny lines are black and white and the wider lines are also black and white. There is no gray. The lightness or darkness parts of the image is completely related to how close or far apart or how thin or thick those lines are within the image. Now, this is our first artist I want to share with you, and it is a work by Georgia O'Keefe in 1930. She did a lot of floral images, and she has some really wonderful transitions between light and dark versions of a color. Notice the greens in the top half, how they go from a dark green to a light green, and the deep blues inside, or even the lighter blues on the bottom corners, how it goes from a dark blue all the way to almost a white. So she's having these soft transitions of values in her work that just make it look nice and smooth like a flower petal. In this work, Albert Doer creates his work by having his marks on his paper be either closer together or farther away to create the value, because this is just an etching. So essentially, he had basically a piece of metal, and he used a tool to carve his design in the metal. And he put a single color of ink on the metal, stamped it like a regular stamp, and we see all these lights and darks. We see figures, we see objects, we see text. And that's all because some areas, the darker areas, have lines that are closer together. And some areas, the light areas, have lines that are much further away or no lines at all, which is phenomenal at the feat of this craftsmanship that he has created here in creating this illusion of form with using just value. Here we have some really cool work by Andy Goldsworthy. And if you look really, really close, you can find out that these are actually leaves from trees. And what he did is he went out in the woods and he collected a whole bunch of leaves of different colors and values. So he has those really, really bright yellows, got some oranges, got some deep rust, and then he got some almost like muddy brown kind of colored leaves. And he arranged them in a very specific way in order to make it look like there's a transition of color. And if you look in the center, it almost looks like there's a hole, but in reality, he just cleaned up that patch of dirt. So then by having the light areas very close to the center and the dark areas further away, it gives the illusion that there's a tunnel going into the ground, which is really cool. Now, his artwork doesn't stay forever because it's out in nature. A lot of times it just, goes away with time. So a lot of times we just see it because of these photos that we find on the internet and stuff, but it's still really cool. I love Andy Goldsworthy. This last one I want to share with you is a photograph by a lady named Dorothea Lange, and this image is called The Migrant Mother. If you take a look at the date, it says 1936. And if you know your history, you understand that in the 1930s, we had what we call the Great Depression. Okay, 1929, in October, the stock market crashed and it hurt a lot of people financially. So they didn't have money for a lot of things. And this is just an image depicting a woman with her children during this really hard times. And the only reason that we're able to see this person in this image is because of the value that is created. And you have light areas that depict skin and lighter colored clothing, darker areas that show shadows under the hair and underneath the chin and between fingers. And it's just amazing what value can create. So next thing I want to really share with you, definitely check out this video. The link is in the description below. This is CJ Hendry, and she's a color pencil artist, and she does really cool stuff, mind-boggling stuff. Check it out. It's better if you just take a look at it for yourself, better than me just explaining it. So this is all I got for the element of value. I hope this is helpful, and stay tuned for more videos.